Hey there, welcome to We Read It One Night. Rachel and I are taking a break on recording new episodes until the new year. So this week, please enjoy one of our favorite episodes and yours, Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, Part 1.
I have multiple things to talk about. I don't remember what some of them mean. No, okay, I do remember. Okay. So the bugs. I definitely told you this.
The bugs?
The bugs parallel universe theory, right? Okay, so what if this was just like a shower thought I had like a few weeks ago at this point, but what if like bugs, like I'm including bugs broadly defined.
What does that mean?
All right, so imagine the spider in the corner of your shower, right? Like he's spinning his web, right? But what if like in a parallel universe, like he's like a person, like sitting at his desk working, right? And like same thing, like people, like you exist in a bug form somewhere. So like you smush the spider, you have a heart attack. Like that spider has a heart attack in another light, in another world. You know what I mean? Like or like a praying mantis. Like here it's eating a cricket, but like in another universe, it's like just eating chicken dinner at the table. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so my question is, for clarity's purpose, I'm imagining two scenarios here. One, either if you're the bug, but also a person, like, are you also seeing through the bug's eyes at the same time as you're seeing through the
Yes.
person
I
eyes?
mean, yes. I mean, obviously
Or
not
is it
like
a situation
aware.
like, are you like, yeah, are you aware? Or is
No,
it a
obviously
situation
not,
like,
or else you'd be aware right now. Like obviously
well, I
not,
don't
or
know. I
you'd be
thought you were gonna be
aware.
like, oh, it explains sometimes when you have those like floaters in your eyes, that's your bug eyes.
No.
See,
No.
I was imagining, I was like, or is it like in the Percy Jackson? I'm sure this is not exclusive to Percy Jackson, but like how the Greek gods, like they can have multiple forms, like in multiple places at
Mm.
once, and they're all like,
No, it's more like that, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. It's like that. So anyway, be kind to bugs. That's the moral of the story. Nice mug.
you could be killing someone's father.
Exactly. No, really, like sudden, like unexplainable deaths. It's just like you've been stomped. They're done. You are the fruit flies in my very ineffective natural fruit fly trap. Like, first of all, I hate the smell of vinegar. Like, my
Did you
bathroom
add a
smells
banana
like
peel?
ass. No, I added dish soap, which is what it says to do online. And I've literally had like multiple people firsthand account tell me that that works. I was told to like put like a cover with holes in it. I did catch one
Yeah,
fruit
wait.
fly.
You
What?
didn't put a cover with holes on it?
What's the point of that?
It keeps them inside
But they die. I
so
thought the
that they
point of the
can
dish soap
die.
and the vinegar was that they would die.
Yeah, but they don't fall directly in sometimes. Sometimes they just crawl in, they sniff around. So this is to prevent them from getting out. Also, if you add a banana peel, it'll attract more of them.
I'm not really interested in like playing around with this because I fall for this. Like I have fruit flies like maybe like once every like 3 to 4 years. And every time I fall for this bullshit and it's never worked once. Like I've definitely tried, like I just remember over the years, like it's a long enough time interval that I get tricked every time. And then as soon as I do it, like 3 days later, I'm like, wait, this doesn't fucking work. And my bathroom smells like ass. Like I hate the smell of vinegar. It's
Oh.
horrible. But yeah. Speaking of the cat scale, I have a new
What?
theory for how to find a trustworthy car mechanic, like someone who will be like honest. You know, obviously, like, you know, car mechanics are like a valuable service, like they deserve to be paid. But like for me personally, like knowing nothing about cars, I feel like it's so easy for like the local pep boys to like completely lie to me. And that's definitely happened before, you know, and like just charge you at the wazoo.
Uh-huh.
But I had a great mechanic in Nashville and I, fingers crossed, found one here. And the way you tell is you go there and if there's at least like one stray cat and like ideally a litter of kittens, you know it's good. Like that, people listen. That's how you know. Okay. I don't make the rules. I'm just sharing them with
Well,
you.
it's like how like dogs like have a good sense of like whether someone's good. You know, if animals don't like you,
Oh, for sure. For
it's a
sure.
red flag.
Yes. So that is what you look for. You will go there, they will help you out, and it will all be great.
Speaking of stray cats, there are quite a few stray cats in today's
Oh
book.
my God. I cannot like this book is just like even like setting aside the plot, setting aside the romance, like put that all to one side. Just the sheer number of just like I don't even know how to describe it, like personal memes, like things that to me are like, oh my God, like this is like my book that are in this book. Like just the number of cats, the number of fun facts, the fact that like every single location is everywhere that I've been forced to live. Like
Well, no, not Baltimore.
not Baltimore, but that's yeah. That was like a detour though. So, you know,
Okay.
I did drive through Baltimore like a month ago. I don't know. But yeah, no, wonderful.
The book
Yes.
is.
The book
The book
is Love on the Brain. Must be. It has some theme song. Love on the Brain.
by Ali Hazelwood.
Woohoo!
Which you all, if you would like to know the power of listener suggestions, this was not just one listener suggestion. This was like 10 listener suggestions.
Was it really?
Like, I cannot describe to you the number of DMs and emails that we have received asking to do this book. And you know what? We were going to do this book, but it was originally scheduled for later in the year.
No, but
so
I
y'all
was
are
like,
getting
we
it
need to do
early.
it. Yeah.
I know Rachel was willing,
Yeah.
but I'm saying y'all are getting it early because of the listener suggestion. So I'm just saying, like, comrades, like, mobilize, you know, like, gather together and submit your listeners' suggestions if you really want a book to be done, because that's what happened here.
Oh my God.
It's a movement.
It really is. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book the first time I read it, and then I was forced to reread it like a week after, which I normally would not do, but I still enjoyed it. I did not very much enjoy it. So the first time I actually, you will be shocked, but I did read it in hard copy because we were at the airport and I saw it and I was like, you know what, I'm fucking getting this because it's not coming off hold in the library for like 3 months. So I did read it with my eyeballs. Like, it was that good. It's also like a very enjoyable shade of pink, the cover. So like, it's a very aesthetically pleasing book to carry around with you.
It matches the Love Hypothesis.
I like it. Yeah, the coordination. I really like that too. But then I re-listened to it with the audiobook and like, I don't know. I think it's just probably because I did read it like with my eyeballs first. Like, I had my own voices, but the audiobook narrator's voice was like really not it for me. No offense.
Oh, interesting. I thought it was the same one. I could be wrong. I didn't verify this, but I thought it was the same one as the Love Hypothesis.
Listen, it very well could be.
The reason I also struggled with the audiobook, and listener, you will not be surprised. I only listened to this on audiobook. I struggled with this on audiobook, and I don't know that I would recommend it on audiobook, not necessarily because of the narrator, but because I found it really difficult in places to discern between things that our heroine, because this is first person, between things she was saying in her head and things she was saying out loud. Because some of the things she said out loud, I was like, surely no person would say this out loud. And then it would be like, I said. So it was like, and the audiobook narrator like didn't, and it's hard when it's in first person, but I felt like the audiobook narrator didn't do a great job like differentiating between thoughts versus speaking for B.
I can't speak to that because I like did know what was actually in her head and what wasn't. It's not the same narrator as the Love Hypothesis. But again, I don't want to rag on her too much. Like, there was nothing like inherently bad.
I thought she was good. Like, she was fine
good.
narrator.
I think it was just like that the voices weren't like, I already had voices in my head because I had read it myself. So like, it just wasn't.
That's fair.
Yeah, and it was like so recent after I just read it, you know. So like, I didn't have time to like sort of forget. Another thing this book has like weaving. So this book has like a lot. Okay, so I have a theory. The first chapter of this book was released like a year ago or something, and I read it. Like, I did read it with my eyeballs, and it was a different first chapter than the current one. And I think so. This book is like, it has like a You've Got Mail type of like through line, right? Like, that's like one of the drama, and I think that was originally going to be like the main source of tension, like the main, you know what I mean? I don't even know if the Tim and everything, like if her ex-fiance, like if that existed as a source of drama or not originally. But the You've Got Mail thing was unfortunately like relegated a little bit, which was, I wish it would like cause more tension. But there were like a few things that like seemed like they were building up to something and then just like didn't, or like took like a complete left turn into like,
there were the ending of this book is insane. And I have things to say about that.
It's great. No,
but no, I agree. I thought there were parts of it where there was like a through line throughout, and I was like, oh, this is like really like well wrapped up,
right?
But then there were also parts of it where we were building up, and then like we got a scene, and then like, and that was it. Like, it was done for the rest of the book, and it felt like some things felt like they were just being like checked off a list, like, okay, I wrapped that up, instead of like fully feeling immersed. But I still really liked it.
I feel like that. Okay, so I'm be interested to see, because I know what things like you're talking about, and I don't think I agree with all of them, but I want to see if you agree with the things that I felt that way about, but like we'll get to it. Okay, let's just like launch right in. So another big through line in this book is Marie Curie, like fun facts and like, you know, little flashbacks.
Very important.
They always very important. They don't always, I didn't always see the like connection to the plot, but I enjoyed them nevertheless. Like I was never like, oh God, another Marie Curie fun fact. Like
I know a lot about
fun facts. I do. I know a lot about Marie Curie. I know a lot about La Llorona, famed Houston ghost. I know a lot about blood and eggs. But yeah, we'll launch right in. Did you know that Marie Curie was married in her lab gown? Yeah, fun fact. And her love of her life, Pierre, was crushed by a horse cart and died like 3 years after they got married. Something like that.
That's what you get for marrying a Frenchman.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. And it's Marie's own fault for like having such a French name, you know, like what were her sisters' names? Like Helena and like Bronislava. If she'd been Bronislava, she never would have like gotten shot by a Frenchman. That's all I have to say. Like she should have tapped that down. And then so B is like waxing poetic about how no relationships.
We didn't even introduce.
I know. I'm just saying she's waxing poetic about how no relationships last. And she's like, sometimes people get their heads crushed by a horse cart. Sometimes they sleep with your best friend 6 months before the wedding and make you lose tons of cash and security deposit. And I was like, that's oddly specific. I wonder what the trauma in this book will be.
I knew. Our heroine is B. Koningswasser. If you're wondering whether B stands for anything, it doesn't. And I was waiting this whole book to find out what it stood for. And then no, it doesn't. We get a whole explanation. She's named after a literal bee, like the insect.
Right.
And she has a identical twin sister who the audiobook narrator pronounces Marika. Her last name has an umlaut and it wasn't pronounced, so I have no faith in this.
Don't think it had an umlaut. Did it? Maybe it did. I don't know. On the A, maybe.
Let me look it up. Right. Let me look it up.
You have a lot of confidence for someone who's apparently never seen these names written down.
Well, I've seen B's names written down. Because it's in the thing. Yes, her last name has an umlaut. And it was not pronounced.
I thought only U's had umlauts.
No,
A. Yeah, I know, I'm just trolling. I don't care, to be honest with you. Like, I literally do not care about the German name. In fact, I know like it's supposed to be her trauma that she's like moving around, but like every time she mentioned like, oh, I'm from everywhere. I'm from like I lived all these. I'm like I know this is like the one situation where it's warranted, but it was really just giving like person who studied abroad in Europe and like spent a day in like 12 countries and like talks about it for the next 5 years. They are orphans. B is a researcher.
She's a neuroscience gal.
And she just got this like awesome grant, whatever, like this awesome thing at NASA that she really wants to do to work on this project called Blank, which sounds like totally it's mind control basically, like for astronauts for some reason, like no good reason, but we go with it.
Yeah, I have comments to say about that.
Yeah. We'll get to that. And she's so happy. Also, B has like fun colored hair and piercings, and she's like generally like edgy, like looks wise, but not at all personality wise. Okay, does Ali Hazelwood run or not? Is she a runner?
I don't know.
Is she a vegan? Because I have a lot of questions. Right. I have a lot of questions. So like in the Love Hypothesis, Olive and Adam were both runners like separately, but it was never like part of the plot. Here, B is like, I'm going to do my couch to marathon, but then like literally can't run 1 minute, like 1 minute. She's like, I run 1 minute and then I'm hobbling. Like I am literally limping. And I know people don't run, but like really 1 minute and then you're limping. Like maybe I can understand 1 minute and you're out of breath, but like 1 minute and your legs are like I just don't understand. Like I feel like that's cause for concern.
Is she
at
like
that point.
Sprinting?
Yeah, maybe. Like I get. Yeah, maybe she's okay. I guess people just don't know how to pace themselves. I guess that could be it. Right. I guess so. But even like 12-year-old me, like I guess But anyways, she's and then she comes home and we have our first cat appearance. She bakes treats for elderly Phineas, the local cat next door, and we never see him again after this.
I know, we don't get an update on Phineas. What the fuck? There are a few things that we don't get an update on by the end of this book, and I was like, what? Yeah, no, she finds out she gets to co-lead a project at NASA. But when she finds out, she's like, I have to like make sure that I'm quiet because my neighbor once filed a noise complaint for listening to 90s female alt rock without headphones. And I'm like, I'm going to need more information here before I'm on your side, B.
Right,
because like how loud were you listening to this music?
In a cubicle. Like girl. Like in an office, she's in like a cubicle. Well, I guess not technically a cubicle. It's like an office, but it's like the walls are thin. Like
no, I thought she was in her apartment.
No, this was at work because she like gets the news at work and then she's like, I think she's like, oh, I'm screaming for joy, but I have to be quiet because like.
Oh, I thought it was because she brought up Phineas, and Phineas is definitely at her house.
Mm.
Anyway, regardless, I was like, I'm going to need more information. Also, like, are we talking about like Gwen Stefani, like No Doubt? Are we talking about like Alanis Morissette? And we are talking about Alanis Morissette. It's like mentioned later. But I was like, quite frankly, listen, I'm as big a fan of You Oughta Know as the next gal. But if someone were blasting You Oughta Know loud enough that I could hear it through my walls, I also would be like turn it the fuck down.
Right, like it's not about what the song is. It's like, why are you imposing your song, on me personally?
But it's like different with music versus like talking, because like in college, right, in freshman year, like my neighbor was like always knocking on our door and telling us to be quiet.
Right.
And like sometimes it would be like midnight and I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. Like my friends and I are all in the room. We're talking pretty loudly. I understand you want us to be quiet. But sometimes it's 4 p.m. I win the Hamilton lottery and I'm being excited. And she knocks on the door and tells me to be quiet. And I was like, ma'am, it's 4 p.m. in a college dorm. So like, this is a very nuanced situation.
It is.
But I would say music. No. I know that my roommate in Queens, she would always, anytime we had a party, she would always bake cookies for like our next door neighbor and the people that lived above us and below us, and being like, we're having a party tonight. Here's some cookies for the noise.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. Yeah, honestly, you gotta butter people up.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's like celebrating the whole weekend, and then dun dun dun, she finds out that she has a co-lead, and it's Levi Ward. So she knows Levi from grad school. They overlapped for 1 year when she was a first year and he was a fifth year, which already, like, if you don't see this coming, Levi is the love interest. But like,
surprise.
Yeah, it's just like weird to me that they only overlap for a year and she's a first year, because the whole thing is that like they were nemesis, but like not really, because it was just like he one-sided hated her, like, or so everyone thought, And I feel like that's not the definition of a nemesis. Like if someone just doesn't like you, that's just like, I don't know. It
just felt very
like
odd.
A bully. I don't know. But also like the age difference. I don't know. Like I just feel like in general,
like why couldn't they overlap for
like
longer?
Creepy. Yeah. Like I forget what context I wrote this down in, but like at least like I remember when I was in grad school, like if there's like a fifth year, like trying to get with at first year in general, like no, that's just like not, like everyone's gonna roast that, But I guess that's not what he's like actively trying to do.
Right. He doesn't actually try to get with her. He like has a silent crush on her.
And B is like, well, that's fine. Like he doesn't have to like me. But he did tell my fiance Tim that he could do better than me, like after he proposed.
So yeah, okay. So her fiance who cheated on her is named Tim, and her best friend that slept with her fiance is named Annie. But so about Tim, I have a question for you, Rachel, about the name Tim. So for me, the name Tim, even before reading this book, already had like, if I were to name a shitty ex-boyfriend, like if I were writing a book and I were to name a shitty ex-boyfriend, it would be Tim. I'm fairly certain that I have done that before. I have named him Tim. So it's interesting to me that Ali Hazelwood and I have that same like association. But now I would like to know, like, do you also have that feeling towards the name Tim? Mm-hmm. Like it's not like I've ever met a Tim who was like a jerk. Like
no,
the Tims that I know are pretty neutral people.
I have like pretty even like positive negative associations with the name Tim. It's a very like meh, like just doesn't really do anything for me name. Just
Tim. It's not a hero name. It's not a hero name.
Definitely not. Which I feel like is what Tim is supposed to be, right? Like by the end, like he's not supposed to be like this big bad villain. He's just supposed to be like, wow, this was an asshole loser. Like we're over it,
No, he's certainly not the big bad.
No. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay.
Hard to top.
Oh my God. I felt like I was on cocaine. I was coming back from my COVID booster. I was coming back from my dual COVID booster flu shot appointment, listening to the end of this book. And I was like, am I high? Like, am I having a negative reaction?
Right. But like it simultaneously wasn't dramatic enough. Like I was expecting it to be dramatic in a totally different way, but this was just like unhinged. Like I'll tell you, like, I don't know what you.
But it was foreshadowed.
Right. It was foreshadowed, but I was thinking that even more was foreshadowed. It's all I'll say for now.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay. So
Okay.
the other thing that Levi did was she overheard him talking. So they shared a PhD advisor. And at one point, her name's Sam, she asked them to like do a project together. For some reason, even though again, Levi was a 5th year and B was a 1st year, which usually means you're like taking classes still, but whatever. And Levi was like,
She's her
no.
best and like neuroscientist as a
Right.
first
Like
year.
what? And Levi was like, no, I can't work with her. And Sam's like, but you said you would. And then like B walks out for some reason and overhears them talking or something, like, and Levi's like, I can't work with her, blah, 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 and then she like leaves
And then
halfway.
she runs away.
Huge theme. B loves to eavesdrop and half-ass eavesdrop. Like she loves
Yes.
to just like break off and
She
not get
gets
the full
called
scoop.
out for it.
Right, as she should. And B really wants a cat, but she like won't get one because like she doesn't want it to die.
She has permanency issues.
I relate to that so much, except that it's the same reason Mom didn't want a cat because he was afraid of it dying. But for me, it's just like
Yeah.
fear of commitment. It's less the dying. It's more the like, what if I regret this? I need a cat to be foisted on me. Like if I was like foisted, if a cat was foisted on me, like I would do fine, I'm sure. Like same with like a child. Like if I like for some reason like had to take in like a child right now, I think I'd do great. However, I like make the choice because then you can regret it. You know what I mean? If there's no choice, there's nothing to regret.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Yeah. So the first third of this book was very Pride and Prejudice-y. Like it very much tracked the plot of Pride and Prejudice, and I thought it was going to continue throughout the whole book, but it really, I mean, it did to the extent that like he's prideful and she's prejudiced, you know, like, and there's like misunderstandings because of that. But like, so like one of the things that he said in grad school was like, she's like, yeah, he called me fugly, which is like not what happened. He just like, someone was like, doesn't she look cute today? And he just like looked her up and down and didn't say anything. And I was like, is this a not handsome enough to tempt me moment?
Yeah,
like Ali Hazelwood, answer for yourself. And maybe this is just because I know that Ali Hazelwood is obsessed with Pride and Prejudice because she's always posting about it. But I was like,
oh, for sure,
this is a not handsome, like
for
it's
sure.
or it's like the Lizzie, or it's like the like Darcy refusing, like Mr. what's his name, Sir whatever
Fitzwilliam
is like, dance with Darcy, dance with Elizabeth.
Oh my God,
Lucas,
Sir Lucas. Yeah.
And then Darcy is like, meh, 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 meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it
I was
totally
like,
was.
what
It turns out to like not be, but it was.
She's okay. So I had a question for you that I forgot to write down, but I just remembered it. So she's like in that like flashback, she's like wearing like a dress from Target, and the Target dress like reappears a lot. So like remember that. How was the Target dress described again?
Oh,
because
hideous.
For some reason,
it's really ugly.
I had it in my head as like blue and yellow stripes.
Yes,
and I was picturing some wait, there was polka dot. Okay,
it was either polka dots or stripes.
Because I was picturing some horrible like sleeveless version or like tank top sleeve version of the blue and black or white and gold dress. Remember that like internet debate?
No, I'm picturing like chevron is what I'm picturing.
I was picturing that dress.
Yeah. No, it's not cute the way it's described. It's really not. Which I don't want to say that because I bet Ali Hazelwood like owns that dress. Like no offense. Like I get it. You bought it like 10 years ago. It's not my style.
It's
no.
Style.
It probably was my style at some point. It's like, you know, I'm just picturing like, yeah, but it's fine. It's just like one of those, you know, $12 off the rack.
The way she's describing Levi though, I'm genuinely, I cannot remember at all how she describes him, but I wrote like the way she's describing Levi is giving me very not like other boys vibes. And I was like, is this a new genre of character? And like that didn't turn out to be like, you know, his character. But I was like, I feel like at one point she says like Levi was not like other men. No.
She said like he wasn't like the other. He was a man. He wasn't like the other boys in the lab. Like
like I was like
no. But that's
are we getting a new? Is Ali Hazelwood creating a new character?
Yeah, he's described as Adam, but like with green eyes. Like that's basically it physically. Adam from the Love Hypothesis.
Oh, and I think also the reason she was like, because he's like, I guess like, I don't know, the best shorthand I can come up with is like he's a prep in her mind, like in grad school, because she's like, a guy like Levi wouldn't have found a girl with blue ombre hair and a septum piercing attractive anyway. And that was when I had the thought where I was like, really? Is that? Are we going there? Like,
I
is
mean,
that
what I was picturing with that was like he's like a fucking like Eagle Scout who like won't be alone with a woman. Like
sure?
that's what I was
No, but like
thinking.
it was like specifically the blue ombre hair and the septum piercing, and I was like, that seems. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are like aren't attracted to that, but I was like,
aren't
that aren't like I'm sure the
aren't.
people that are like I prefer people that don't have piercings and don't and have like natural colored hair. I'm sure that those people exist and that's fine. But like it just felt very like I was like this feels a little Ebony Dementia Raven way to me.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think it was that much of a stretch.
Not that's extreme. I'm exaggerating here, but I can't figure out a better way to like
Just like that's not. I feel like that's not a stretch at all. But anyway, they're off to Houston. What?
wait, I'm sorry. Before I forgot to bring this up when we talked about how she doesn't want to get a cat. She like if she got a cat, she would name the cat Meowry Curie.
Yes, but then she doesn't. Oh my god,
She doesn't. I was very upset.
So annoying.
But it's just like how I'm so upset that our mom would not, despite the fact that these cats eventually got foisted upon to me. So I feel like I should not, I say foisted, but like lovingly.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I know.
I feel like I should have been allowed to been the sole decision maker in naming these cats. But our mom like scammed us.
Yeah.
And then like we got the cats, it was going to be his cat. And then like a week later.
Persephone and Cleopatra.
Persephone, Cleopatra, Jane Austen, Agatha Christie, Cindy Crawford. There's so many options like in the world of like cat related. Like if we had gotten a boy cat, Chairman Meow, like it would have been amazing. But I was robbed. So we got Evelyn, Evie, and so I was like, well, I have to have a name that matches that. So we named the next cat Adelaide. And we call her Addie.
Evie and Addie. And they're getting along finally, right?
Yeah, today they spent time on the same bed together willingly. So very much progress.
All right, she's off to Houston with her lab assistant Rocio. I still don't know what the correct. Yeah, I know that that's how the audiobook narrator says it, right? But like again, why are we taking her word on that but not literally anything else? It's Rocio in Spanish, Rocio, Latin American Spanish, Rocio, dear listener. And she's great. She's like goth, manic pixie dream girl, full of fun facts. It's wonderful. However, well, apparently, okay, here's the thing. Her part of her character is making up fake fun facts and like throwing in like real ones sometimes. But the first thing she says is like, did you know that armadillos can give you leprosy? Which isn't so much a fake fun fact as just like misinformation that some people believe. So I'm like, I don't know if Ali Hazelwood thinks this is true or not, because like a lot of people believe that like armadillos do carry like the same bacteria that can cause leprosy theoretically, but like it's not in a form that's like transmissible to humans. Like there's not a single, I don't think, recorded case of a human getting leprosy from an armadillo, right? But like so the way it's presented is as if it's like real. So like don't believe this armadillo slander. That's all I have to say.
It's just like what was the animal that was blamed for COVID? The pangolin. It's like the penguin.
Yes, kind of like that. But you know what though? Because Ali Hazelwood does throw in the whole like, oh, sometimes she makes up fake ones. I think it's kind of smart. Like maybe it was on purpose. Like she's really just like covering all her bases.
Yeah, she's
because,
covering her ass.
Right. Like if one of her fun facts turns out to be wrong, it's just like, oh well, she just makes up fake ones. Ha ha ha. Like
maybe this book got a legal read by like the publisher's lawyer, and the publisher's lawyer
by
was
by the armadillo's lawyer, by the Armadillo Council. In this other dimension where we're all
Armadillo
armadillos.
Council of America.
Right. But it's like some people believe that. Yeah. And she's also excited about La Llorona, who is a famed feminist ghost on the banks of Houston.
Is she
feminist? I guess. I don't know if she's feminist. She's not feminist at all. That's what I said. I was like, that seems like a bit of a stretch. She apparently got mad at a man and drowned all her children as revenge. And then now like cries along the banks to lure more children to drown. And Rocio wants to find her. We also find out on this plane ride that B runs an anonymous Twitter account. It's like really big, has almost 1 million followers on like academic Twitter.
Over 1 million followers.
No, over 1 million, sorry. On academic Twitter, which if you're not aware is like a big thing for some reason. Like I don't know why, but like academics love Twitter. Like I personally will not. Twitter is like TikTok for old people, I guess. Like kind of. I don't know. They love it. They go wild.
I don't know about that.
But so she runs that, and it's like a secret. Like no one knows. It's anonymous.
It's a Marie Curie Twitter
Right. It's
account.
at What Would Marie Do? Right. And she started it because after she taught like a class in grad school and decided to give her students like an anonymous survey to see how she did, and got just like a bunch of like sexist, inappropriate comments, which is definitely a real thing. Like I remember one of my law professors like telling us like, she was like, she was like new to the school, and she was like, yeah, she's like, don't fucking write anything like that, because like it's anonymous, but like it's not anonymous if I don't want it to be. Like I will find out if you write something like that. So like she's like, that people did that. Yeah.
But shitty Tim and her other grad school friends who were all men convinced her not to report it.
Yeah, they were like, you're making a big deal out of nothing. She hasn't told like a single person about this Twitter, even her sister. She's like, you know, she can blab, which like fair. But I find it interesting she never told Tim, in like, even though they dated for like 4 to 5 years after she made it. So she has this internet friend. His name's
Schmackademics at
Schmackademics, in a totally shocking turn of events that no one will see coming. This is a You Got Mail scenario. This is Levi, obviously.
Who could have predicted?
Right. And so they've been friends for years. And she's like, he also has like a similar following, but he like tweets about like other academic shit. And she's like, his bio says she was like, I initially was a little distrustful of him because like his bio says he, him, and we all know how cis men on the internet can be. And I was just like, yeah, but B, like, how do you know he's cis? Like, I don't think cis means what you think it means in this context. Like, right?
That's
like
true.
Just using he, him pronouns does not, right?
No, doesn't automatically
right.
cis.
But anyway, she's chatting with Schmack, and Schmack is like, he's telling her about this like girl from his past who's back now and she's married. And like, I forgot about the You've Got Mail element, but like this was definitely the main conflict. Yeah.
Like, it was hilarious. Like the number of times when it's just like they once again have a conversation in which he's like, yeah, this girl I've been in love with this whole time, and she's like, this jerk that I'm working with.
I know. Oh my god.
So dumb. They literally don't figure out until the very end of the book.
And then it's like so anticlimactic. Like it doesn't even matter. Like that's the thing. Like that's one of those things that I'm like, why was this not like, it should have been more relevant, you know? It was kind of just like, oh, we've been talking, you know?
No, what it does when he figures out it's not like it's not really a big deal, I think, because he's been gone for her this whole time, so like it's not going to change how he feels, because like,
no, yeah, I know,
he's already top level,
right?
But for her, I feel like at the end, like when she figures it out is when she sort of like finally allows herself to admit,
oh, that's true,
that she's like, oh my god. And the way that he talks about like who I thought was this random girl, but like is actually me, and he's felt this, so he has like these deep feelings, and like, wow, like I would be a fool to let this go, like all of that stuff.
I'm gonna be honest, the whole like Levi lurking in the corner for like literally 7 years at this point is giving Severus Snape just a little bit. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't love it. It's like it's a bit much. Yeah, so he's talking about this girl and like how, yeah, whatever, he's gone for her, she's married. Well, and like to B's credit, like she knows that she's not married, so like why would she ever think it's her, you know? And Schmack never tells her that he knows the girl isn't married. B does wear her grandmother's wedding ring, like just for
on
funsies.
her left hand,
right.
Why?
And her twin sister Marika, who we didn't mention. When we did, I guess. I'm just gonna say Marika. Like I don't know, Rika, whatever. Riki, Rafiki. I don't know. Rafiki's like in Norway. She bops around. She's been like traveling since high school. Like she's one of those. She's teaching like the Norwegian brats German or something. She got the grandmother's engagement ring, and B got the wedding ring, which like one of those is like a much better deal in my opinion, right? Like,
yes, but one of them they got the ones that match their styles.
No, they didn't though.
I feel like B's like an engagement ring would not go with the sort of like softcore punk that B is like repping.
I guess so. Yeah. Oh, so okay, wait. Now that we finally have introduced the twin Rika, whatever, Marika. And B, and B is just like literally B. It's like I feel like I keep seeing TikToks, or like I don't know, just in general, like it's like there's the sibling that has the fun name and the sibling that has the boring name, right? Yeah. And like So yeah, like facially, like I guess like in the US, like B is the boring name and Marika is the fun name, but they're both like weird in their own ways. And like plausibly in like the Flemish part of Belgium or wherever the fuck they were born, Marika is plausibly the normal name and B is the weird name because it's like an English animal. You know, like how do you say giraffe in German? Like imagine someone named that here, you know? Like how do you say, you know? It's like which one's the fun, which one's the boring? It's just that the styles don't match at all. Like that's what gets me. It's just like why would you do that? Like
Rachel,
why? What?
do you want to know how to say giraffe in German?
How? It's something ridiculous, isn't it?
Giraffe.
Okay, well, still crazy in its own way.
D giraffe.
Oh my god.
Giraffe. D
Still
giraffe.
insane in its own way. Indeed. Truly. D giraffe.
It's just giraffe, but with one F instead of two.
You could have Raffi as a nickname. That's a great name. As it were.
Rafiki, Raffi. We just call her
Raffi. Yeah. Renesmee. Raptor.
Renaissance.
Yeah.
Revolution comes around.
Revolution. So yeah. So B like emails Levi and she's like, do you want to meet this weekend to discuss blank? And then he ignores her. And I'm like, yeah, because you fucking suggested this weekend. Like, no wonder he ignores you. Like, he's setting healthy boundaries. Like, girl, chill out. Like,
they regularly
that's
are
not
like,
why he actually, they work every weekend for some reason.
No.
Definitely not getting overtime.
It turns out he hasn't been ignoring her. But yeah, so she rolls up like a day early and she's like, oh, I just want to look around. And the security guard is rightly like, no, bitch. Like, this is a fucking top secret security like facility. How did you even get in here? Like, what do you mean?
I know.
For real, how did she get in there? Because we went, listener, we went.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't mention that we were literally going to Houston while I was reading this the first time.
Yeah. We're moving Rachel into Houston and we went. Our brother wants to be an engineer, so we were like, let's go visit NASA. And so you can visit NASA and you can get a tour around like the campus and everything. And
there's
in your
like a
little
golf
like
cart, theme park, like visitor
and
center,
there's like a little and there's like a museum, like exhibits and shit. But it was very hard for us to find the parking lot for the tourist part of it. And we tried to go in like 10 different entrances and they were all like secure entrances. Like you could not enter unless you were an actual NASA employee. So how did she get in?
Unclear.
This is what I would like to know.
She
how
also
did she
like
get in?
Okay, she also like lives in NASA housing. Like they gave her housing. So maybe she's like somehow she can walk to work, right? Which like you've been there. Like Houston's not very walkable and especially in that area, like it's very like wide open. It's not really like near a city block. Right. So like how does she walk? Maybe there's like maybe there is like special like visiting researcher housing that's like closer or something. She's also like, I can't believe I'm gonna be seeing rockets on my way to work for the next 3 months. Well, I feel like there were no rockets like outside, right? It's like weird for you reading this now after like
there was one rocket for sure, and there was the rocket near the tourist part. No. There was a rocket outside. There was the giant ass rocket that we saw inside, but there was a rocket outside, and there was also the rocket that we went in.
Oh yeah, that was. I thought that we only went in the plane. I don't know if we actually.
You could go in the plane and the rocket.
Okay,
that's like in the touristy part.
Okay, yeah.
But it implied that there would be like fields of rockets. And that is not the case.
No,
there are fields of cattle. There are like Highland cattle.
She's also
on
like,
the NASA campus.
Yeah, so weird. Well, no, they're not Highland cattle. They're Texas Longhorn cattle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's also like, I wonder if my new office will have a window. I'm not used to natural light. And I'm like, girl, we've been in the engineering floor. There are no windows. I did grill the tour guide on why they torture people like that. And she was like, oh, it's because of the storms. Which seems suspicious. Like, and I guess, yeah, but again, just have like one way like windows. Like, I don't understand. That's like, it's just
no, there are no.
It's just like for some reason they decided that people whose brains make serotonin from natural light are not allowed to be engineers. Like, period. Because that's like what every engineering lab ever looks like. Like, it's always depressing and windowless. Windows.
But they're windows that lead to the walkway in which the tourists can walk by and look down at you.
It's horrible. Like literally dead ass. Like people, they were like having like a scheduling meeting, and I could see this guy's like fucking Excel like schedule. Like I just don't understand. Like or like calendar app. Like what? Fresh hell. And it's not even one way. Like they can see us. Like no wonder he was facing away from me, because like that's probably the best case scenario is that I see his schedule instead of like him seeing me, his face. Like, oh my God. I just like would simply like, I just don't understand. Like, yeah.
I would perish.
It's literally like animals in a zoo. They can goggle. Of course, we did go goggle, like of course. But like I feel like that's not my problem. That's like something for them to fix.
It was very odd. I was like, "Why are you doing this?"
Right.
It was very cool, though. I highly recommend visiting if you're in the Houston
Yeah, it
area.
was cool. Yeah, definitely something to do. It was raining and it was still fine. Like when we went on the car, it's still fun. Sit in the back and talk to the
Yeah.
tour guide. You'll get more from it.
Yeah,
You'll get to like
befriend the
roast
tour
the
guide.
other
You'll get
visitors.
extra
Like
fun.
establish yourself as like a rule follower, and then you will get to like break more rules. Like don't be annoying, basically. But so she can't get into like the security part. This whole thing is a security part. So unclear. We will later learn there are like literally cameras in this entire building. So we meet Guy, okay, and Guy is like someone that she's been like corresponding with. He knows a lot about the project. And Allison, I want to ask you, what was your first red flag with Guy? Like, what was the thing that made you realize, like, this is going to be a no for me, for all
Okay.
of us?
All right. Well, so I just want to say that when Guy is introduced, my note was I'm going to be upset if he turns out to be like the dick from the Love Hypothesis. And spoiler alert, he does, but like a million times
In a totally different
more
way. And
wild.
yet, like, yeah, just like.
So he does. But so, Rachel, technically, my first red flag is the fact that his name is Guy. I just feel like I've never encountered a character whose name was Guy who like wasn't in some way like not great. Like I just feel like you can't be a good guy and have that name.
So, okay. You were still questioning at that point, though. What was the thing that made you be like, for sure?
Oh fuck, what was I gonna say? Oh, there was something. It wasn't the thing that was for you. I totally forgot. It was I can say for 100% that it was when Levi when he says that he failed his psychological portion for the astronaut, like Guy wanted to be an astronaut but he failed the psychological
Oh,
test and
okay.
I was like, okay, that's a red flag. But it was definitely before that. Before that I was
Yeah, fair,
definitely like,
yeah.
but I
Okay,
forget.
so with the astronaut psychological, I didn't even really, like, pick up on the psychological exam part of it. What picked up for me is that, like, Guy was sort of, like, implying that he had been to space. Like, B thought that
Oh
he had been to
yeah.
space, so, like, he was implying that to make himself seem cooler, and then it turns out that he never actually did. Like, he was, like, technically on a mission, but, like, not in a
Like in the
rocket,
control
Like,
room.
right, like, still, like, working on it, but, like, he made it seem like, or, like, he let B assume that he was, like, in space in a suit. Okay, so the red flag for me, so Guy has kids, which, like, at first, that made me think he was gonna be, like, safe and cool because I was like, "Okay, he's married, good, he has kids, like, we don't
Yeah,
have to
that's what I
worry."
thought
Right,
too.
that's, like, a safety thing for me. But it turns out he's divorced, and he's gonna say he doesn't say it now, but, like, the next interaction we have with him, he's gonna be like, "Yeah, me and Levi babysit play dates sometimes." Like, so he's saying he's babysitting his own kids, and I was like, "Okay, like, you're done." Like,
You're
that's not
done.
gonna fly, like.
Yeah, I didn't notice that he used the word babysit, but like, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely a red flag.
right. So
So watch out for
B,
Guy.
we find out that B is vegan because Guy asks, like, she's like, "Oh, I don't eat eggs." And she's like, "I try hard to break the stereotypes that plague my people and not use the word vegan in the first 3 meetings." Which, like, I know that is a stereotype. In my experience, pretty accurate. However, if there were a word that meant like meat or animal product eater and you were forced to specify that, like other people would definitely use that in their first 3 meetings too. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem fair, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I understand what you're saying. Um, my thing is that like unless you're talking about food, there's really no reason to bring it up.
oh,
You
sure.
know what I mean? Like if you're talking with someone and food doesn't come up, like there's no reason.
Right.
And even in a lot of cases, if food does come up, there's really no reason to be like, yeah, I'm
No,
vegan,
I know what you're saying, except that I think if there was like a word that you had to specify that you ate meat, that would still come up. Like the people who, you know what I mean? It would still, those people would still be like, I'm a meat eater. Like, I don't know.
a carnivore.
Right. I'm a carnivore. Like, right. Like, if that wasn't the default in our, So, okay. So, Guy leaves her for 1 second and she hears, what does she hear, Allison, down the hallway?
Meow.
Meow.
I hated the way this audiobook narrator
Oh, I
did
didn't hear that because I was reading
meow.
it. I was rereading it physical copy until I got the audiobook like halfway through, or like a little less
The
than halfway through.
meows every time the audiobook
Oh
narrator
my
meowed, I was like,
god.
what the fuck
I
is
don't
that?
think I ever heard her. Wow, incredible.
Meow.
Oh my god.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was an unfair roast of the audiobook narrator. I'm thinking of the book I read right before this also involved a kitten. And the meow in that was so annoying. It was like a middle school actor
Oh my
like doing
god.
a meow. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It was horrible. I don't think I had a problem with this audiobook narrator, so I apologize to the audiobook narrator. Like that was an unfair criticism of you. That your meows were fine.
And it is a beautiful young calico, but it doesn't look like our cat Evie, who is mostly black with like orange and white. This cat is mostly white with like orange and black on her ears. And I like how like we later find out that she's like okay, we're later gonna see like videotape footage of her, and B is like she definitely looks smaller than before. So like I feel like that's to imply that, so like we the reader and B are like assured that she's a kitten, so she's gonna like still have a lot of years ahead, you know, like a lot of years. Yeah. So I feel like it's funny. I think it's funny because that's like the same thing we were doing with Evie. We were like, oh, did she grow? Like, should we measure her? Like, I think she's still a kitten, even though she was a mother. Like, she had kittens, but like that's possible when they're less than a year.
Yeah, cats can have kittens like starting at like 4 months or something.
Yeah,
like,
I just think it's funny that was like part of it. It was like so many like I don't know like relevant things to our life.
I did feel like it was a little bit of false advertising in terms of NASA, because like there were no stray cats in NASA.
Oh no,
and I just feel led astray.
Yeah, really. Like that was a huge disappointment. Honestly, there might have been outside. Like who's to say? It was raining. They're probably like hiding. You know.
Well, that's true. This cat is inside the building the whole time.
Like lives in the vents. Like very unclear where she came from.
Yeah,
where did
how
she
did
go?
the cat get there?
Right. And so like
know
what
where
happens,
she went.
What happens every time we see this cat is that B starts making cat puns. Like I should have written some of them down. She's like, my jokes are hysterical. And then the cat gets offended and like walks away. And in this right, do you remember any of the cat puns?
No, I didn't even notice that.
Oh really?
No.
Maybe the audiobook narrator didn't like emphasize it. I don't know. But
no,
it's
like,
written down.
Now that you say that, maybe she did.
Right. She's like, what a perfect kitten you are. You don't like my joke? It was hysterical. You're such a sweet girl. Aren't you the most perfect little baby? I feel so fortunate to have met you. Come on. I was just kitten. Okay. The cat jumps on the precarious stack of equipment, which is indeed precarious, and starts tumbling down before who comes around the corner? Edward Cullen slams into her from a direction she wasn't expecting.
Yes, I was gonna say. I literally wrote, "Is this science, Edward and Bella?"
Yes, and we never get an explanation. She's like, how did he get there so fast? We never get an explanation. I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, no, the solution is that he was just literally lurking around the corner, stalking her this whole time, as he's been doing for 7 years.
He was hiding behind
he melted into the walls. He has like, you know, in the Pink Panther at the end when they're like blending in with the curtains, and they have those like costumes. And they, like, you know what I mean?
Pink Panther with Steve Martin.
Yeah. Oh my god,
yes,
they, like,
that was
him.
They blend in with he's like on the ceiling. Yes. He's like holding onto the ceiling.
Oh my god,
with, like,
he does rock
special,
climb.
Like grippies that he like invented himself
to avoid the head smashing. Yeah. Oh my god. Anyway, he like saves her, and all she hears is horrified screaming, another very Twilight thing, and a shrill meow somewhere in the distance.
But this man, he pushes her against the wall, and then he like immediately like checks her for injuries, and he's like, "Oh my god, is she hurt?" And then
green eyes. What?
Yes, we get a very like tense.
It's
Edward and Bella. It's Edward and Bella car crash scene.
But like much more sexually charged, in my opinion.
Oh, it's so like if Stephenie Meyer hadn't been a coward, this is what the Edward and Bella car crash scene would have been. And then B faints. She swoons.
Yeah, because that's just like what she does.
And yeah, apparently she faints all the time. And she's like, yeah, I've been to, doctors, and they just can't figure out what's wrong with me. And I'm like, ma'am, this is dangerous. Like, what if you're driving and then you just like, you're like, she's like, oh, I have like messed up blood pressure. I was like, there are blood pressure, like girl, you need to get this figured out, because this is a very dangerous, like, what if you're like at the fucking Grand Canyon, and then you like, she has a fear of heights. She looks down at the Grand Canyon. She fucking passes out, falls. Like,
that's a good point.
This is not explained. Like, I was like, you need to undergo some serious testing.
I mean, it sounds like she has, but like, yeah, how is she allowed to drive? Because it sounds just as dangerous as like, because like if you have
she's like narcolepsy, like what is it? Like, does she need a dog? Does she need like an alert, a service dog
Right.
that
No, it
will like
really
alert
does. No, now
her?
that you just said that, it really does sound like narcolepsy. Like, that's exactly
Well,
narcolepsy.
that's what I wrote. I was like,
Right?
is it going to be like revealed that she is No.
No. No, but that is what narcolepsy, it's literally when you're scared or, like, excited or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, or sometimes for some people, it's like whenever you have a strong emotional reaction, that's
Yeah.
literally what
And
it
that's
is, like.
basically what happens.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't put that together. I just accepted it for some reason. I was like, "Okay, like, that's
I was
fine."
I was like,
I
what
also
the
expected it to
fuck?
matter for something, and it just doesn't, right? That's
No, just
another thing where
it
it's like.
matters so that Levi can constantly carry her like a swooning
Right,
damsel. That's why it matters.
right, but he could just,
Yeah,
yeah.
I swore and I thought, later on there's like a little kid character who's like introduced that has epilepsy. And
Right.
so I was like, "Oh, like maybe this will help B like figure out what her weird medical condition." No. It
No.
just
No, I really didn't even think of it because, like, whatever, like, I guess it's your own personal safety, but it's like I didn't even think of the element of, like, what if you're operating heavy machinery and putting everyone else
No,
at risk? Like,
yeah.
what?
She's fucking operates like she's doing like brain stimulation. What if she like sees a
Right.
spider and fucking passes out when someone's like
Oh,
hooked up to her
right,
brain?
right.
Like
Yeah, like,
this
what?
is very
The brain thing is just
dangerous.
very dangerous in general. Like, that brain thing is
Yes.
whack. There's no way that's a real
I
thing.
have things to say.
I
We'll
also
get
have
it.
to say, further to my theory that, like, the You Got Mail plot was the original, like, main drama of this book, like, I just remember, like, the original first chapter was this rescue scene, I'm pretty sure. But, like, there was also, like, a random girl from grad school that she ran into, but definitely, or, like, someone that she just met, like, some friend, but, like, there was no mention of, like, the Annie. I wonder if I can find it. I'd be interested to see, like, how much it's changed.
I mean, it makes sense that it would like if it was published a year out, like she
Oh,
hadn't even
for
finished
sure. I'm just
writing the book at
curious.
that
Yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah. Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because there was a whole discussion. There was like a whole, Twitter controversy, TM. And it turned out to be about this book and Ali Hazelwood, but like it took me a very long time to figure that out because no one was naming names. It was like all these like vague subtweets. I was like, what is going on? But it was basically like she said in some interview where she was like basically like her agent like gave her a bunch of was like feeding her tropes and then like she wrote the book. So people were like, oh, like, like all these struggling authors and then like you have this author who like is just getting fed tropes by her agent and writing the book. And yeah, everyone was making a big stink about it, but I feel like that makes sense. Like if she was being feeding like if she was like being given tropes to do, I feel like the agent was like, how about like a you've got mail kind of thing? And then like that
Mm,
makes sense in an early version. And I want to emphasize that I'm not one of the people who's criticizing because I'm like, so what? Like that's what you're
right,
fucking frankly, y'all, like as somebody who's
right.
works in publishing, that's what your fucking agent
It's
and
supposed
editor
to,
are there
right,
for. I can't, especially for a second book, when I'm doing a second book with an author, like I'm on a call with them and I'm like, okay, what's your
right.
second book going to be? And that's not
Yeah,
even like a criticism of them. Like that's what your fucking agent editor are there for. If they're not
right.
doing that for you, they're not doing their jobs.
Yeah. No, it's giving Obama teleprompter, like, quote unquote scandal. Like, that's what it's giving for me. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? I don't know if anyone else. Why is this the second time I've like thought of this
Yeah.
in
No,
two
I
days?
remember.
I don't know if yeah, circa like 2008. This probably was not a drama for the majority of the country, but for our corner of like talk radio insanity that our dad listened to, I guess like President Obama was giving a speech and like the teleprompter glitched, so he like didn't know what to say next. And like me, an impressionable eighth grader, like I believed it because they were like, well, he's in such an idiot. Like, and look, they made it seem like he was like caught out, like as if everyone in the world like wrote their own speeches, and he was like caught out that he like didn't like I guess write his own speech and memorize it. And like then I didn't think about it for like years, and then years later, like for some reason, I was like, wait a second, literally no one writes their own speeches or memorizes them. Like, this is totally normal.
There's a
Like,
whole fucking
what?
like industry of like, where's your
Speechwriter, like,
career to be a
yeah.
speechwriter? It doesn't
Right,
make
no,
any
and
sense.
but what I realized is that, like, I just feel like every important person in the entire world is just giving speeches written by, like, 26-year-olds with no guidance whatsoever. I was
Oh,
talking
for
about this today with,
sure.
like, no, because now that I realize, like, yeah, no, it's just, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, but even with the Ali Hazelwood thing, like she still wrote it. She still wrote this book and it's a good book. Like at the
Right.
end of the day, like I can sit down and be like, I want to write an enemies to lovers with only one bed and with like X and X microtropes, but like you still have to write it. And like the same person can take the same 20 tropes and put them in a book. and like they're gonna turn out wildly different. Like,
Mhm.
what? Like, welcome to the romance genre, my dude. It's like all fucking
No, but
tropes.
even like taking it to the extreme of like you literally didn't write the book, but you're still using your name to sell. Isn't that what ghostwriting is? And like no one's we've all collectively decided that we don't have a problem with that. And I always thought that was weird. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna like get on my high horse about it. I always thought it was weird, but like everyone's okay with that. So like, why are you? I just don't understand.
There's a whole
Like,
industry.
and no one's like mad about that. No one's like, oh my
Yeah.
god. Yeah. Moving on. It is the first day, and B is so excited.
Wait.
What?
We didn't finish the swoon scene. So
Oh,
after they
okay.
have their like eye contact thing, then she faints. He like carries her like a damsel to the couch and he's like yelling at the person who like left the wobbly equipment because obviously he's like very upset because she could have been hurt. Yeah, and then that's it. Just no.
Yeah,
And
she's
then
like, I must have
this is the time when
hallucinated.
she's like, I must have hallucinated, and then she proceeds to go down the list of like all the like shitty things that he did to her in grad school. He's
Right.
like, one time like he like left a poker game because someone dealed me in, and like you know, all
Right.
of that.
Right. He's like, one time he stood for like an entire lab meeting rather than take the one empty seat next to me, which is like bold. My shoulders hurt just thinking about that. I don't know if anyone else gets stiff shoulders from like standing for too long or like walking in weird position. I
My
don't know what to
lower
tell you.
back hurts, but my lower back hurts just kind of hurts all the time now.
Yeah.
I need to do some chores. I need to fix my posture. Anyway,
Hot yoga.
it's her first day.
It's her first day. She's so excited. And she gets there. We learned from Rocio that, well, I think everyone knew this, but in France, the guillotine was used as recently as 1977. Frankly, I thought they were still using it. So they get there. Rocio has a morning greeting. It's like the guillotine was used in France in 1977. And they're getting a tour from Guy, the guy, but none of their equipment is there. Like, he's just taking them to like all the things, and he's like, oh, and like here's an empty room, and here's an empty room, and here's an empty room, and here's your office you have to share. Your one computer for you guys to share will be coming. And they're like, we need like 8 computers. And then second guy red flag. Actually, this might be the first red flag because I don't think we've heard the babysitting thing yet, technically. Rocio was like, at least get us an abacus if you can't get us a computer. And Guy like doesn't get it. He's just like, what's an abacus?
How are you a STEM person if you don't know what an abacus is?
Right. Or just like, why aren't you just like pretending to laugh anyway? Like, pretend to find me funny. Like, that's all I ask. You don't actually have to understand. It can go over your head. It can go over your head. Just like
but just laugh along. Just
right.
Like
right.
Yeah. And then they go see the special helmet. So the Blink Project. Okay.
It's like I said the first time I read this, I was like, Allison, this is whack. Like, either Ali Hazelwood, I think, is a neuroscientist, so she knows about it. But I was like, either that or like she's just completely making this up. And you were like, well, she's a neuroscientist. Like, she probably knows more than you do, Rachel. But like, no, this is just like whack. It's just like a helmet where they can stimulate pieces of your brain and make you do shit. Like, forget how to sing.
No,
like
command. Make it better.
No, that's the goal, but that's not any of the experiments we see.
No, here's my thing.
I know, but that's stupid. It's so stupid. It's like,
here's
to reduce attention.
It's whack. It sounds sci-fi-y. I believe that it exists, or that the technology, like, even if they're not specifically doing this, I believe that Ali Hazelwood is basing this all off on things that are scientifically possible. Because I definitely remember there being like talking about experiments where like, yeah, if you stimulate this part of the brain, the person is more of this, like, and this is like oh, if you stimulate Broca's area, he like forgets the lyrics to songs. And then like the other stuff is like, if you stimulate this, he has more concentration. Like,
that's just stupid.
That all sounds like things that could be possible, but also very dangerous in the wrong hands.
Really stupid. Yes. And this whole time, okay, they're going to be up on their high horse about like how the wrong people can't develop this because they'll sell it to a militia. And I'm like, you realize like with NASA, they don't even have to find a buyer. Like, they're making it in-house. Like, we will be killing people with this. Like, I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know what planet
like,
we're living on.
It's to help like astronauts have better concentration so they don't make like dangerous mistakes in space. And I'm like, cool, good. But then, yeah, later on, she's like, oh, like, because there's this other company that's also doing it that we find out. And she's like, oh, but they're just going to sell it to the highest bidder. Like, humans don't need like more ways to get better at killing each other. And I'm like, my dude, do you understand the number of NASA inventions? Like, the US military
probably funded directly by,
like, for sure, like, the US military owes so much to
The U.S.
to
military
the
is
fucking
probably
discoveries
like
of
somehow
NASA.
NASA's number one funder. Like if it's not Elon
No,
Musk,
like
it's the U.S. military.
yeah,
Like
that's what I'm saying.
that's
And
where
it
we're
was like I
at.
was like, what? Like you're really gonna get on your high, like you're still working for a US government agency, and a lot of NASA people are like former Air Force pilots. And like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
there's a lot of ex-military people who become astronauts.
Right. Well, Levi's like military obsessed family is like it'd be good enough if you could at least be an astronaut. So like they consider
Yeah.
it, right? They consider
But
it.
that was like I was thinking when they were like, yeah, Levi's family like hates him. It's a very hating game situation. Anyway, but I was thinking, I was like, technically, I was like, if you want to talk about usefulness to the US Armed Forces, Levi probably has them all beat. Like in
for
terms of what he's done,
sure.
because he worked at JPL and now he works at NASA. Like I was like, he's absolutely
Right.
like on the front lines of like fucking stuff that's used for drone tech. Like, don't tell me. You know?
Right. Like I
But yeah,
just
this
don't.
whole book just refused to
It's
acknowledge that NASA is a
so
fucking US
weird.
government agency, and a lot of its technology is also used for killing people.
Right.
Like it's
Like,
not
doesn't
just
even
for
matter.
space.
It wouldn't, frankly, wouldn't even matter if NASA was or was not like closely, it doesn't even matter if they're actually closely related to the military. Whatever any agency makes, I feel like will definitely, if it's useful to the
Yeah.
military will be get it.
Yeah.
Like they will get their grubby mitts on it one way or another. Like,
Yeah,
frankly,
there's no
there's
way.
like, no, it's probably a direct pipeline. But anyway, she's like immediately she's like, oh, well, the holes are in the wrong place in the helmet, blah, blah, blah. And like someone's like, oh, well, that's like not the original part, like Levi, whatever. And she's like, well, like, I bet Levi, Dr. Ward probably doesn't know anything about the angular gyrus, like whatever, like sick burn. Okay. As Levi walks in behind her. So she
of course
like
he's
says
standing
it.
behind her.
Right.
Naturally. Yeah.
And then they all go off to have like a meeting and donuts. And Guy is like, oh, there's one vegan donut. It's that blue one in the corner. And she's like, oh, good, vegan donut for me. And then Levi takes it. And she's like, oh my God, like what an asshole. He takes my vegan donut. But like thinking back, so like Levi's, spoiler alert, like Levi's vegan. It was his donut. So she would have been taking his. But like, why would B think, like, Guy was definitely just like trying to stir the pot there, for sure.
Oh, well, that's what I just had the thought. I was like, well,
Just to
because
fuck
we
shit
learned
up.
later on that like
Yeah.
Guy was trying to create tension between them.
Right.
Like, do you think he said that
For
because like she had
sure.
just
For
told
sure.
him that? Yeah.
Right. And I guess like Guy could have like passed on the fact that he was vegan and got her the donut. But like it's bold of her to assume like, oh, there's one vegan donut. It's for me. Like it's for me.
Yeah.
They got it for me. I mean, she is the co-lead. It's weird. Like I think lead must mean something different in like science academia. Cause like for me, like she's not really in charge. Like it doesn't seem like she's in charge.
No,
she's like more of a consultant than like actual leader.
Yeah, she's in charge of like the neuroscience division, but it's literally just her and Rocio. And like he's in charge of like engineering, but they have a full conversation in which like it's made very clear where she's technically also in charge of like engineering. Like the engineers are supposed to listen to her. And like obviously there's a lot of like women in science, sexism, misogyny like stuff in the air.
Right.
But I never got the sense. I was like, you don't feel like you're leading this project. Like you don't even feel like you're making an effort to lead this project. You know what I mean? It's not like she's trying to and being shot down.
Right. Like for a second, I was going to say like maybe lead just means like lead author on the paper or something. But no, she definitely is also like, oh, I'm in charge. But like, yeah. But it also does seem just weird to have someone like coming in from outside when like this is an established working group and like he's essentially their boss to then have like, oh, you have another boss. Just for 3 months, you have another boss. Like, here you go.
Yeah.
It does seem kind of like a big ask. But whatever.
Did we say that she works for the NIH?
Oh, yeah. She works for the National Institutes of Health.
Yeah. So it's like collaboration.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a NASA NIH collaboration.
Then they do an icebreaker. They all say their favorite movie.
Levi's
and his movie.
Her
his favorite movie is also The Empire Strikes Back.
Right. And she has this whole thing about how so the only women in the room of this like I don't know, it's like I'm assuming it's like 20 people or something. It's her and Rocio and then this girl Kaylee who's
Elwood. She's Elwood. She's Science Elwood.
Yes. B talks about how her best grad school friend Annie had this like schemata of like there's a cot cluster, there's a worst fest, whatever, like depending on like how many men to women ratio,
Yeah, but the moment like after this meeting, like so the moment Kaylee and Rocio interact, immediately I was like, as soon as like the goth and the perky blonde like they have like tension, and I was just like, gay, lesbians, tension, And I was like, this is currently the only thing I care about. Because at this point, I really didn't like Levi because I was like, how is he not going to be an asshole here? Like,
right. Kaylee's like, oh, we're both left-handed. And Rocio's like, left-handed people are more prone to migraines, allergies, sleep deprivation, alcoholism. I wonder if that's true. Like, okay.
Yeah, I didn't question that. I kind of took that as fact. I was like,
is
oh,
that
that's
one of the real ones?
interesting.
Again, she's covered her bases.
I was like,
Impressive.
I learned to write in Catholic school. So like there's been several points in my life where I'm like, am I actually left-handed? Like, and I get migraines and I have depression and I do things with my left hand. Like I swing a baseball bat and swing a golf club and like do certain things with my left hand. I like the way a lefty would. So like, did the nuns beat this? Did Sister Patricia, is her reign of terror even more than I remember it being?
Oh yeah. So can I just say, so Rocio is in a relationship this whole time. She has a boyfriend that she like left behind in Maryland, whatever. And this is not going to be the second time because remember that Schmack is also like in love with a married woman. And B is like totally cool with this. Like she has no problem when she thinks both of these people are cheating. She's like, oh, well, I wouldn't want them to think I'm judging them for cheating. And I'm like, this just doesn't really track with your whole like trust issues. I was cheated on. Like, it's just weird. It just seems out of character for her not to at least be like, hey, Rosie. Because she doesn't think Schmack's going to do anything. So like, there's no reason, you know. But even the fact that she has the thought to be like, hey, Rocio, like, it would be probably cooler if you broke up with Alex like before, you know, like that would be the cool thing to do. Just a tip, or at least like to think like, I don't know. It's just weird.
I agree with you that it would be out of character, but I do explicitly remember that when Kaylee and Rocio officially get together. First of all, I just want to say that I totally forgot Rocio had a boyfriend this whole time. So like that was not even front of mind. But when B says it, and spoiler alert, it turns out that she like broke up with her boyfriend before anything happened.
No, not
Kaylee.
before. But after.
No, before they started hooking up. But when B like has a thought, she's like, oh, they're probably like polyamorous or something.
No, she's like, maybe they're poly. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But see, and I wouldn't have thought anything of that if it wasn't for like the Schmack thing where she explicitly has the thought like, oh, I wouldn't want him to think I'm judging him for taking up with a married woman. Like, and so, okay, so the meeting's over. She goes to try to like catch Levi. And he's like trying to get away, and she grabs him, and she's like, "Oh, like, run!" He reminds me of he reminds me of an inmate getting caught by the prison guards, like 2 steps away from the exit to the prison. Oh my god!
It's like my cat. It's like Addie before she's trying to steal Evie's food, and like I stop her right before. One time I was having a dream where like I thought I couldn't breathe, and then I woke up and guess who was on my chest. And she likes to be on top of me so much that like I sleep on my side most of the time, and she'll like balance herself on like the side of my body.
Great. That's ideal. Wow, I'm so jealous. Wow, I can't wait to meet her.
I had she wasn't on top of my face, she was on top of my chest, and she's so fat that like, you know.
Oh my god. It's not our fault. We didn't overfeed her.
Speaking of cats, he doesn't believe her about the cat.
She's like, oh, sorry about the equipment. There was a cat. And he's like, what? A cat? And she's like, now he thinks I'm making up the cat. Like, wait, am I making up the cat? Did I hallucinate? Like, successful gaslighting.
It's a running gag.
It's a running gag, but also like definitely like nearly successful gaslight at first.
It's a running gag that quickly becomes a gaslight, but like for romantic purposes. It's like romantic gaslight.
Right. And then she's like, oh, maybe he forgot who I was. Like that'd be embarrassing, my nemesis forgetting who I was. And I'm like, again, he's not your nemesis. Like he's a dude who didn't like you. That's not the same thing. However, he's like, of course I remember you. And he's like, how's Tim? And she's like, that's a mean question, like thinking, because she assumes that he knows that they broke up because they collaborate together, like on on papers and stuff. And also she's like, everyone knows, like everyone at Pitt knew, like my lab mates, faculty members, janitors, the lady who manned the sandwich station at the cafeteria, like they all knew before I did. So she assumes that like Levi knew too. And Levi's like, he's like, cool. But there's a dress code. So you're going to need to be a little more professional, as he's like in his Houston Marathon t-shirt. And he's like, yeah, like you can't have hair in unnatural colors and like piercings, like blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I really want to kick or punch him. No, what I really want to do is grab his chin and force him to stare at what he clearly considers my ugly, offensive face some more. And I'm like, wow, like What a charged atmosphere. Like, what a, like,
Oh my, it's insane.
we
I would
lost
also
baby
like to
girl.
point out that this man, we have another Darcy reference. This man is constantly clenching his fist, clenching and releasing his
Is
fist
he? I didn't
when
notice
he's talking
that.
to her
Wow.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like every time they talk, his fist is clenched. And I was
Yeah.
like, it's the 2005 Darcy Hand moment, aka
Mhm.
the moment that invented romance in cinema. There was no romance in cinema before 2005
Yeah.
Pride and Prejudice did the
No.
Darcy Hand moment.
No, it's true. It's a fact.
And you know that was a reference from Ali Hazelwood. You know that was
for
on purpose.
sure. She knows. She just doesn't do anything half-ass. And she does call him out. She's like, "Well, all your engineers were like literally in like cargo shorts." Like, okay, and he's like,
She's like,
"Just
you're
follow the
wearing a
dress code."
t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah, and you didn't believe that this could be salvaged. You didn't believe it. All I have to say is,
Yeah, like I understand there are explanations for the whole thing, but I'm like, I just like don't like. So in grad school, he was supposed to be like.
no, I'm
I mean,
talking
there
about
are
this
explanations for
specific
why.
thing.
No, I understand.
Which
I
to
have a
me was
point
like the
here.
one thing that I was like, I can't imagine a way to like spin this. Like,
I have a point here. So in grad school, like he was emotionally repressed or whatever because of his like terrible family or so. But like there are explanations for why he did what he did in grad school that are like whatever, but. So I was like, okay, I understand him just not having the social awareness that like he's acting like a dick because of what like that it like seems like he's acting like a dick. But at this point, he has gone through several years of therapy. He's supposed to be emotionally aware. And I was like, surely, sir,
Right.
surely you can figure out why that would be an asshole thing to say. Like he continues being an asshole or like seemingly being an asshole.
Yeah.
And I know that B is an unreliable narrator, but I'm like, dude, you're in your 30s. You're like a mid 30-year-old man. Have some self-awareness.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah, and it's like the grad school thing weirdly had like two explanations, and they both felt like simultaneously redundant, like to have two, but also like not enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, he does that. Yeah. So next day, Levi is still not responding to her emails. She's like, she has like a very Darcy moment where she's like surprised that she's like shocked that he's like a beloved boss. She's like, well, obviously he's like competent, but really everyone likes him. It's very like Elizabeth, Mr. Darcy, Lizzie Bennet Diaries is what it was specifically giving for me when she goes to, you know, Pemberley Inc. or whatever. Like
Pemberley Digital.
You know, why is it always, it's never Inc. anymore. You don't hear Inc. very often. Like Monsters Inc. Whatever. It's always like Corp or I don't know. Pem Corp. I don't know. But yeah, he's a beloved boss. He drives a truck.
Their badges don't work.
Their badges don't work. They can't get in.
Which is like another thing. They still don't have equipment.
Right.
She compares Guy to, because like Guy has to let them in. She compares Guy, like in passing, she's like, oh, he's kind of like my British cousin or something. Like, and I was like, and this British cousin never comes back. But at this point I was like, the hero of the next book, you know, because my romance neurons were connecting.
Oh, I didn't think that. Yeah,
but he's never mentioned again, and I sincerely doubt that was on purpose. But I was like, why the British cousin? Like, who is this British cousin? That also led me to thinking, like, is this book taking place in the same universe as the Love Hypothesis? Like, are they all part of academia?
Oh, for sure.
Well, because I was just like, well, because if the British cousin was the hero of the next book, that this book would be connected to whatever her next book is. Like, it would be canonically the same universe. So I was like, oh, it's the Love Hypothesis. And I mean, there's nothing that like says that it couldn't be. And so I was like, is it possible that we're gonna get like a B and Levi, Adam and Olive, like somehow like a double date, like bonus novella or something, like Ali Hazelwood?
I only just realized B and Lee. I don't know. Maybe it'll be Guy, rehabilitated Guy.
No,
Guy was like, no, you would think. No, I have a lot to say about that because like it was very weird how like laissez-faire they were about that at the end. Like,
I was like, is this man?
They were like, don't worry, he'll be fired. And I'm like, okay. But Levi was also like, once I've cooled down, like I'll go talk to him. Don't worry. Like he's still one of my oldest friends. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I was like, is it going to be revealed that like fucking that like Guy was the one who pushed Peter off the cliff? Like, is there going to be?
No, he is sorry about that. He was sorry about that when he heard. Don't worry.
Okay. We're getting to this ending, listener. This ending was just so off the rails. I literally texted Rachel as I was listening, and I was like, what the fuck is the ending of this book? And I didn't dislike it, but I was just like,
and there was such an easy way to make it be like sensical off the rails, if you know what I mean.
yes.
So she's talking to Guy. She's like, Guy, can I ask you something? He's like, a date? No. Good, because I prefer figs. I just enjoyed that. That was a good one, Guy.
He's very charismatic, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then they find out the reason they still don't have equipment is because someone hasn't signed off. And obviously B is like, it's Levi. I bet it's Levi who hasn't signed off.
Right. And then B overhears like Rocio telling Levi about La Llorona, the famed feminist ghost. And she's like, he can talk. He can talk. He can fly.
Oh my God. Yeah, he's cool with literally everyone else. This is when
Yeah.
we find out the play dates thing. This is when we do the play dates
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Levi has a child? Question mark?
Right.
He
Because
doesn't.
Guys,
He
like, we
doesn't have a
babysit
child.
play dates together, right? And she thinks he's married, like, obviously, yeah. So Rocio's like, why do you, like, you and Levi have like beef, don't you? And B's like, well, there's no hiding it. It's so obvious. Like, yeah, we do. We did have a history. Rosie's like, let me guess.
You've twisted my arm.
You stabbed Levi in the abdomen 69 times and left him for dead, only to be astonished to find him alive when you arrived in Houston. She's like, he was never a fan of me. She nods like she finds the idea relatable. Yeah, she's great.
I mean, she's like a character. She's like, she's like Wednesday Addams.
So Rocio's like, you know what you should do? You should ask at what would Marie do on Twitter. You know her? And B's like, what do I do? To play don't play don't. No, okay. Yeah, I've heard of her. And Rocio's like, I figured, because like you love Marie Curie so much. Yeah, you have at least 2 pairs of socks. And B's like, I have 12 socks. Rocio's like, I tweet at her all the time. Like, and B's like, on your own account? Like, really? I don't remember. Like, she's like, no, I make burner accounts. I complain a lot about you, for instance. Like, your vegan
like,
lean
what?
cuisine smells like farts. And I personally,
the fact that B eats exclusively lean cuisine.
I quite literally cannot think of something nastier than vegan lean cuisine, with the exception of non-vegan lean cuisine. Oh my God. Like, why?
Oh, it's
I feel like frozen
horrible.
food must have gotten like, we've come so far, I feel like, but maybe not at all. I did get some Liege waffles.
I also feel like it's not even that's like, oh, she can like buy a bunch in bulk and it's like cheap because she doesn't get paid. But like, I feel like lean cuisine is not, correct me if I'm wrong, listener, if you're a lean cuisine eater, connoisseur, is how, like, on the affordability scale, I feel like lean cuisine always seems like a fancier version of
I just always thought of it as like a diet food
of like microwave. Yes, but diet foods are usually more expensive.
Oh, you know what? I just Googled lean cuisine. It does not look that bad. They got some good ravioli.
Okay.
I don't know.
Pictures, but in reality, what is
it's coming up as like $3.50 from Target, $2.62 from Walmart for one, which is pretty cheap as far as a meal goes.
That's not bad for a meal, yeah.
Right, like meatballs. That's for like meatballs and sauce. I bet the vegan one is more expensive, even though really like, by all rights should be cheaper. Let me see. Yeah, vegan lean cuisine is like $4.29. But oh wait, no, these are like, I don't think vegan lean cuisine exists. Because all that comes up is like healthy choice power bowls. Oh no, they do have it. PETA.org. Lean cuisine just added 2 new frozen vegan entrees. Great news. Thank you, PETA. I don't know what they are, but okay, so it does exist. Interesting. It's not that expensive, but like also just weird. It's just a weird thing to be eating.
It's just odd.
If you're not.
I mean, she can't cook. That's well established.
No, for sure. But like,
throughout
why?
The book.
So B's like, oh my gosh, like I wonder if B dislikes me enough to like purposely sabotage me. Like his career's a lot more established. He can probably take the hit more than I. Yeah, what did I say?
Lee. You said B.
His Lee's not.
B thinks, I wonder if B dislikes me enough. And I was like, that's meta. That's getting very internal.
Related to the reason I just spent a week on TikTok since I don't have a functioning computer. And B's like, that night I Google whether I'm the age of onset for paranoid ideation. Shit, I am. Okay, no, if we're talking about schizophrenia, the most common age of onset is 18 to 25. I know this because you pass that and you're like, whew, good. Like, of course you can get it at any age, but like
Rachel, I got like 2 more months before I'm in the clear.
Oh my God. And B is 28. So like, I guess there's other paranoid like disorder.
No,
I don't know.
I'm sure schizophrenia is not the only. So then B has a phone conversation with her shitty NIH boss, Trevor. Basically, he's like a sexist, shitty pig. He also thinks they're building suits and not helmets. This is a recurring thing. He never learns. And he's like, get your shit together, even though she has no equipment. He's basically just like, stop making excuses. And she's stressed.
She talks to Rika also, and she's like complaining about Levi. And Rika's like, as much as he dislikes you, it's hard to believe he's sabotaging you. Like, that level of hatred requires so much effort and motivation. It's basically love. And I was like, ha, ha, ha. Like, and Rika has a vague accent. I don't know why.
There
But
was a lot that quote just reminded me, like, there were a lot of hating game parallels in this book. Not to the extent where I was
like
like,
that
oh, Ali
monologue.
Hazelwood
Yeah, yeah.
copied that, but like the opening of the hating game is like,
True. Well, that's like a common
hate
thing,
is
though, I
very
feel
close to
like.
love. No, I know. But
Yeah.
I specifically mentioned the hating game because like the subplot with like Levi's family was very much similar to Josh in the hating game. Like,
But for some
you
reason,
know,
okay, I don't know. Okay, see, this is like I still haven't like quite clocked how my brain works when it comes to gauging injustice, because Levi's parents just felt like so it really didn't rile me up, because I was like, they feel so like unrealistic, but also they're like they're doing the favoritism based on something like both logical and like controlled. Like, they like his brothers better because they chose the military, right? Whereas with
yeah.
which, like, is stupid, like, whatever, don't do that, but like at least it's something. Whereas with the hating game, it's like Josh was like trying to do everything his brother did. His dad was like, I hate you, like, no matter what you do, like, I
Yeah,
hate you.
there
It
is
was
no
just like,
reason.
it was not equal treatment, it was not like
Yeah.
equal standards.
Well, I also think like, I don't know, that Levi's family was not as much a part of his like core wound. Like, it really, like, it was like there in the background, but it really wasn't
It
like
was like supposed
as
to be.
prominent to the,
Yeah.
like, as important to the plot as Josh's family.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole like the third act is
Right,
Josh's family
right,
like
right.
being the worst. I think that's just, we had so much to unpack with B that there just like wasn't room. And I mean, I think that's like a side effect of like having a first person POV
Yeah.
romance, like
Like,
single
whatever. I
POV
honestly, like,
romance.
did not need that. I'm totally fine without, like, a
No, it's
family
fine, but that's
injustice.
like, yeah,
Like,
it's very much like he definitely
that is okay. You do
wasn't
not have to worry about me.
he
You
wasn't
do
a
not have to worry
super
about me. Yeah.
developed hero. And like, that's not a crit, it's just like because
Yeah.
we didn't get his head. Like, he was
Yeah.
like tall, dark-haired hero, green eyes, obsessed with her from the get-go, and
Similar, like, a
also
lot of
very generous
similarities.
in bed. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
he was kind of a
that's
classic hero
debatable. Yeah.
archetype.
Yeah, and it kind of it's unfortunate, because I feel like we should have stripped away that like air of like Severus Snape like mystery. I don't know if that's the right word. Like,
I don't
not
think it
good,
was
not
meant
in a
to be
good way,
Severus
not in
Snape.
a good way.
Was Ali Hazelwood a Snape
Spectre,
wife?
specterness.
Is this what was Ali Hazelwood a Snape wife?
Why are you using the past tense? Like, I don't know.
Anyway, B calls the equipment company to find out where equipment was, and she finds out that Levi canceled the order. And she's like, fetch him, fetch him, fetch him, fetch him, fetch him,
Annie would know what to do. Yeah, and then she wasn't, and then she finds out that she wasn't invited to a team meeting, and she corners Levi, and quote, Levi always has the same look in his eyes when he first sees me, a flash of panic. And she just like
cornered
goes,
animal.
yeah, she goes off. She's like, listen, like, I don't care. You can dislike me, but you're being so unprofessional. Like, Rocio and I are wasting your time. We left like our jobs, our partners, like our families back in Maryland. And he's like, well, go home and visit your partner for a few days. And she's like, that's not the point. And then she like tries to stab his chest, and he like grabs her finger. Like,
Yes,
that
I
visual.
love this. Oh, he pokes her. She pokes his chest, and he like grabs her hand to his heart. And I was like, whoa. And it was very much, it was Darcy proposal scene. Lizzie chews him out, and then he has to like explain, you know.
Right. And he's like, she's like, I'm gonna go to Boris, your boss.
Yeah, and he's like, you don't want to do that. And he allegedly, like,
like,
he
there is
has
no
been
superior.
responding to her email.
There's no such thing.
I am superior.
Yeah.
Allegedly, he has been replying to her emails, and like he did invite her to the meeting, and like we don't find out until the very end like why this was happening.
Oh, right.
They keep passing off these things that I feel like they're like, oh, that was a
We assumed
glitch.
it
Like,
was
that's just a
NASA.
system glitch.
Right.
But it happens so many times that I'm just like, I feel like I would have gotten suspicious far sooner than these people get suspicious. Because like,
Right.
there's a lot of weird stuff that happens. And like, I don't work for NASA, which presumably has a very state of the art system. And like my system, my work system that I use, like, it has glitches, but not to the extent where I never get email. Like, emails get caught in spam, and then I get a notification that they're in spam like a day later. But like, I was like, I don't know. I feel like my like regular corporate system is not this glitchy. Why the fuck is NASA this glitchy? Why aren't you more suspicious of this?
Oh, yeah, good point. I don't understand. Like, why are you not more concerned? Like, period, point blank, full stop. Yeah, it's so weird.
Because like later, like documents disappear and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like are getting deleted and moved.
She runs off. She like runs out, storms off to go talk to Boris, but she runs into Rocio on the way. And Rocio just took the GRE. So Rocio's like planning. She's like a research assistant right now. She's planning to apply to grad school, try to go to Johns Hopkins for neuroscience. And she just did like really bad on the GRE. Like you find out your score right away on the GRE. So she did really bad. She's really upset. What?
Well, I had a question. She wants to go to Johns Hopkins, but it was like specifically like, yeah, neuroscience, but it was like med school. Like she wants to go to med school to Johns Hopkins. It's
What?
not just like a PhD. And I was like, isn't that the MCAT, not the GRE?
Oh, I didn't hear med school at all. Are you sure it wasn't like medical imaging or something?
No,
Something
it was like
that?
specifically she was like, I want to go to Johns Hopkins for the like I want to get
that's
a
not
medical degree. I don't know. Maybe I misheard, but I was like, that's not the GRE. I don't know. I mean, I believe Ali Hazelwood knows a lot more about grad school admissions than I do.
Why would she know more than I do, Allison?
No, but maybe it was just I don't know. She knows more than me. I wasn't saying anything about you. Maybe I'm also biased because of the what is it, 2004 classic movie The Prince and Me, in which Julia Stiles' character wants to go to Johns Hopkins for med school. All right, whatever. Yeah, she gets a bad score.
So she gets distracted, and Levi gets to Boris first, and she runs up and does, what we might call some classic Beeves dropping at this point. And she hears him being like, "This situation is unsustainable. She cannot go on like this." And she's like, "Oh my God, he's going to be shit talking me to his boss." And then Levi's like, "You need to make it possible for her to do her work." And she's like, "Oh, like surprise Pikachu.
He's advocating for me?" What?
Right. And it turns out like what's going on is that originally this was a NASA project. And then they didn't get the full funding for it. So they were forced to like collaborate with NIH. And NIH was like, "Sure, we'll do it, but we want to co-own the patent." And NASA was like, "No, we want your money with no credit to you. So we will sabotage this and then just like get it moved to the next budget review." Which is like, oh my God. I just like
it seems like something that definitely happens all the time.
Oh, for sure.
And, like science
academia
shit.
just seems like the worst place in the entire world. Like I'm so like people usually apply for grants. Like there's this type of shit. Like this does not happen as far as I know in like the social sciences. Like that's just not, I mean, I'm sure there's like other things, but like this is just like batshit insane. Like just to waste like this, I don't know. And like what I can't get over is like people constantly being like, "Oh, we have to save the taxpayers' money," but it's shit like this. Like I just don't understand how the rules work in the world.
But yeah, so basically they go outside and have a strongly worded conversation, and basically Levi tells her what's going on. He's like basically like they're blocking you, like it's not me, like it's the higher ups, like this is like politics shit. And I'm like, yes, I understand this, but you still could have told her. And like, why didn't you tell her instead of just being grumpy? Like, again, it's a whole like, I was like, why aren't you more like, I understand you're nervous around her, like whatever, but like, why aren't you more self-aware of what this looks like?
Allison, he probably wasn't allowed to. Like that's so obvious. Like he's not allowed. That this is his job, and like like they probably said like you're not allowed to just go spill the beans to an outsider.
No, because later on he's like, yeah, I should have told you.
Okay, why doesn't Boris tell her then? You know what I mean? Like anyone could have told her.
Yeah, but
they
I
all
don't care
didn't
about
tell her.
I don't care about Boris. Levi is the hero here. Levi is the only one that I have standards for in this situation. Like, I'm like, Levi, you still should have fucking told her instead of trying to like fix it behind her back.
I don't know. I think it could still be like, yeah, because he thought it would be better if he wasn't forced to like sort of betray his loyalty to, whatever, to like NASA. He's like, I ended up telling you anyway. I should have just told you to begin with. But like the best case scenario from where he's standing ethics wise is probably just to like fix it without spilling the beans. I don't know. I mean, I'm making that up. But
what are ethics when it comes to your true love?
True. What are ethics? Yeah.
There are no secrets from your soulmate.
All right, Jacob Black. Yeah, all right, Stephanie Meyer.
Yeah, but in this conversation, she also brings up how he hated her in grad school, and he's like surprised Pikachu face. He like doesn't understand.
He also like says her name for the first time here, like ever. Yeah, and she loves it. Yeah, she's constantly because she like never heard it before.
Oh, and this was the Darcy proposal Elizabeth roasting scene. Like truly, before it was just regular argument, but I was like, for me, I was like, oh, it comes in very early here because this is when he starts to like change for like how
sure.
she sees him.
They're not arguing now. Yeah, right.
No, they are arguing right now.
So she goes home. She's depressed, TM. She talks to Schmack. We find out a little tidbit about how he won a Marie Curie bobblehead at the second grade science fair. And again, I just really feel like this whole, you got mail thing should have caused more drama. Whatever.
Well, I'm kind of glad that it didn't. So I've seen it done well, but like in this case, I'm glad it wasn't because I don't know, like You've Got Mail is actually like super shitty. Like Tom Hanks is the worst in that. he's like truly like he was like manipulating her left and right because he finds out way earlier on that who Meg Ryan is.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I was like, I'm glad like she didn't lean into the You've Got Mail on because like if Levi was like Tom Hanks, that would have been it. Like I would have been like, listen, I can't. I don't care what your excuses are. Like we're done.
Fair. She gets a call at 6 a.m. from Levi being like, come here 7 a.m. ASAP. And she's like, I feel like he's trying to lure me to a secondary location to like traffic me. And then she gets there and she's like, why is he so perky? Like, I love that she considers 7 a.m. quote the middle of the night. Like, me too, girl. Me too.
Me too.
And they're basically like, Levi's like, basically like, just go with it. Just go with it. Whatever. And he's like, Boris, there's a competing company, MagTech, making like the same thing as us. And this is when we get the whole, like the first time we get the whole, like they sell to armed forces and militias, whoever can pay, like as if NASA doesn't like really trying to get the moral high ground. Like, why don't they just admit to wanting to do it because of competitiveness? Because they already like have that established. And Levi found this out through some quote light industrial espionage. And we never find out like what that is or how. No, we never find out.
Yeah, he like slaps down the blueprints and he was like, we can't push this off. Like, we have to do it now. And then he tells her, he's like, there is no neuroscientist I would rather work on this project with. And I was like, why don't you just say you love her already, you dummy? And yeah, he's like, yeah, we have to stop these baddies. Yeah, and at this point, so I was like, oh, there's going to be some like espionage
Guy
going on. Like I was like, Guy is the villain, like Guy's gonna have been selling government secrets.
Right, exactly. He should have been.
We don't know whether that's true or not.
No.
It's not ruled out, but it's never confirmed.
It's just stupid. It's like that. It could have tied it. You could have kept all the same motivations he still actually has in the book, but added the spy layer, and it would have like for some reason it would have been even more insane. But like the insanity would have had more.
Yes, it would have made.
Yeah. It would have made sense. Like I don't know.
Like he's getting paid a lot. Like maybe he has to pay a lot of alimony in his divorce.
No. He could have had the same fucking motivations, Allison, to become a double agent. Like he's mad, he's bitter. Yeah. They nab him. He goes double agent. Like I don't understand.
It's like, neither confirmed or denied.
Right. And like the reason, and it would make sense why he would like sabotage B personally, just to, like add on. He's like, extra motivation. And the last thing I will leave off on is that during this spy conversation, B notices, quote, a tuft of fur on Levi's sleeve. And she's like, does he have a pet? He looks like a dog person. And on that suspenseful note,
dun, dun, dun. Does he have a cat? Does he have a dog? Is it a chinchilla?
Is it a hairy
lizard?
Tune
in next week. Is it a hairy lizard?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tune in next week to find out.
Next week to find out. Yeah. Oh, well, just to wrap up, the Boris is like, this changes everything. And so he's like, I'll go to the higher ups. Yeah. But yeah, tune in next week for the cat reveal at / potentially cat scale. But I don't know. I have a lot of notes.
I'm less than halfway for sure.
I would just like to send out a formal apology to our listeners for this streak of multi-episode book. Like, we're really gonna try. We've been very garrulous. Like, we've just been very chatty McGee's over here. Like, I just want to give out a formal apology. Like, we're really going to make an effort to have that not be the case for the majority of episodes going forward.
What an effort will consist of.
But I don't really know what to change. Like, I feel like I haven't really changed the way
You try to manifest it. That's for sure. I'll give you that.
Anyway, I apologize. Yeah, I'll light some candles. Like, pray to the cat god. I'll get my cats to speak to their goddess. Like, we'll try to work something out. All right, anyway, where can they find us, Rachel?
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at We Read It One Night. You can find us on Twitter at We Read It Podcast. You can find our merch on Redbubble at We Read It One Night. You can email us.
We Read It Podcast.
We Read It Podcast, sorry. You can email us we read it one night at gmail.com. I will say that having to say all of that has only recently gotten slightly less stressful. I do not know how you expected me to just like be able to rattle all of that off initially. Like that was so stressful. But anyway,
almost 1 year in,
here we are. Is it
memorizes all of our
really? Oh my
socials.
gosh, that's crazy.
Our 1 year is November.
Wow, that's insane. Time flies.
Anyway, yeah. Connect with us. Give us a 5 stars wherever you're listening. If it has a rating system, particularly Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and give us a review, particularly on Apple Podcasts. If it's possible, if you would like to reference this book, guess what kind of animal Levi has. Wrong answers only. Like,
yeah.
Guess what is the most absurd animal? Is it a giraffe? Send us your listener suggestions. Don't forget to organize if you would like to really push one listener suggestion.
True. Yeah, get together, get the team together. All right.
And tune in. Yeah, we're getting the band back together. And tune in for part 2 next week.
Godspeed, comrades.
Godspeed.